Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Paige. This is a Yoga with Paige, and if you have had some of these chats with me before, you will recognize this location. I love being close to the water, so while we talk today, while I share this experience with you, I can kind of ground myself with nature here. So I do hope it's not too loud, but I wanted to share a kind of a personal experience that I have witnessed within the past few months, and it involves your personal growth, your personal development, and how your relationships change. So if that interests you, stay tuned and we will kind of explore this little topic together. So this is purely just my personal take on this. This is not scientific research or anything like that. It is just something that I've been experiencing that I wanted to share with you. Whether you have experienced this in the past, maybe you're experiencing this now, whether you realize you're experiencing it or not. And that is kind of almost the whole point of this chat today, because I did not realize what was going on. This started, I guess I noticed it more at work. At my workplace, this is where I really started to notice this shift. I don't have a lot of people that I do things with in this current phase of my life. Pretty busy working and building my career and my home. And my family is not that large, a very small family, and the few that I do have left are up north in Minnesota. So my biggest change, my biggest chance to notice this change was through my coworkers. And I noticed this naturally happen, and I was very confused by it. So I like to think that I am a person who grows a lot. I like to read self-development books, mindfulness, obviously yoga practice here. I do truly believe that it is a great union and a great way to learn more about yourself. I think that is one of the crucial benefits of having a consistent yoga practice is you are able to go within, and by going within, you are able to learn more about yourself and therefore change your behaviors or adapt to new environments easier, better, more seamlessly. So in my workplace, I've worked there, a little quick backstory. I've worked there for about a year and a half, and I've noticed this change over who I talk to and what I talk to them about. And this might seem like silly, like of course, you're going to change your relationships and things, but the reason that it was changing was new for me, I do believe. I used to talk to a few certain people. There were like a few girls specifically that I really kind of enjoyed talking to more than others. They're around my age. We had kind of similar interests to talk about. Somebody else was creating their own business, their own skin business. She is now an aesthetician. She now has her own skincare spa, and she no longer works there anymore. But when I first started working there, there were a few girls that I connected with, that I was drawn to, that I would talk to more often than other people. We would have these conversations and giggle, laugh. It was my little group, my little social circle within my coworkers, within my role there at the place, at the establishment. And over time, I have noticed this more recently within the past 2 to 3 months. I have noticed myself naturally, and this was not a conscious effort. This was not a conscious drawing away from certain people and gravitating more towards others. It was unconscious, maybe only to a certain extent, but it was a natural evolution that I believe stemmed from my own personal transformation that I'm going through, that we all are kind of going through. So I think I see a gator out there. Yee! Sorry. I love seeing them. That's super cool. So anyway, got distracted. Rein it back in, Paige. Rein it back in. All right. So a few months ago, I started noticing this shift happen where I stopped talking mostly to those people. I stopped having things in common. I stopped sharing interests, and I didn't really know sometimes even what they were talking about. It was almost like they were speaking a different language from me. And some of these people are only about 2 years younger than I am. And we just didn't have the same interests anymore. Like, we didn't have the same connection to talk about. It would be like a few sentences, oh, how are you? Catch up, whatever. And then it would kind of just end. And it would be like crickets chirping around. So we didn't have the same connection. We didn't have the same, I think I was starting to realize that we're in different phases of life. Maybe they're still enjoying those activities and those things, but I'm no longer partaking in those activities. So I have no opinions. I have nothing to share about that. And so I started naturally gravitating towards different people. I started talking to different coworkers that I found myself able to connect with in a whole new way. We were talking about bigger things. We were talking about relationships. We were talking about being a homeowner and fixing up different parts of your home and, how these different things are going. We were talking about cooking. So it wasn't like I connected with different people over different things. And it took me a few weeks at least to realize why I was drawing away from these people, because it wasn't like I don't like them anymore. It's not like, I don't enjoy being around them or they're not as fun to be around. It was just, I had nothing to say. I had nothing of value to say. And so it started to feel kind of inauthentic. Like, I just didn't, I don't know. I'm always searching for these authentic, real, strong relationships and connections. Like, I'm not really a small talk person. I don't really enjoy small talk. I think it's kind of pointless. Like, if I say things, and I know I do blabber a little bit, but most of the time, if I do have conversations, there should be kind of a point to it. Either I'm trying to learn more information, I'm trying to connect deeper with somebody on a different level, things like that. So I was finding these conversations that I used to find fulfilling. I do not find them fulfilling anymore. I no longer found them satisfying, and I started reaching towards other people to find my satisfying conversations. And it was kind of a neat experience because, for one, I witnessed myself go through this, and that was kind of cool to pull myself back and say, okay, I must definitely be growing myself if I'm no longer able to connect with people that are dealing with not smaller things, but just different things, I guess. But the second thing was that I guess I wanted to share the ego part that I had to get over, because there was a point where I felt left out, and I still wanted to be included in those conversations, even though I did not care what they were really talking about. So it was kind of this inner battle in my brain. Like, I still wanted to talk to them, and I still yearned for that connection that we used to share. And I didn't want to be left out. It's like I didn't want to be left out of the conversation, because a lot of times I would see them having those conversations, and instead of joining in like I used to, I would just kind of stand off to the side by myself and not engage in those conversations, which is completely okay. But then I started kind of, I would hear them laughing from across the room, and I was, oh, I want to be included. I want to be included in that laughter and that joyous moment. But then I had to sit and realize, okay, so if I was in that conversation, would I be finding it joyous? Would I be laughing along? No, probably not. And that's why I've been finding myself pulling back from these people. So it just was kind of an interesting experience that I had that took a little bit to understand. It took, like I said, a few weeks to a few months for me to really understand what was going on in my brain. And I also find it so interesting that these processes are happening without us even being aware of them. And it takes a certain amount of awareness to realize what's going on, to step back, take time to think, I wonder why this is going on. I wonder why I'm feeling this way when I didn't used to feel this way. So it does take a certain amount of awareness to just be able to comprehend and understand where that may be coming from, why it may be changing. But that happened unconsciously. I wasn't consciously changing who I was talking to, like from a very conscious, active standpoint. I just noticed it happening. And now that I noticed it happening, it is more of a conscious effort. But I think it's beautiful. While you are evolving yourself, transforming yourself, while your priorities change, while you go through different phases of your life, you will naturally connect to people that are also going through the same things. Say you just had a loss, a very big loss of a parent or, someone really close to you. Say that was your first loss that you've ever had and you've never experienced grief of that magnitude. People that have never experienced grief of that magnitude won't understand what you're feeling or where you're coming from. So in that instance, in that phase, in that time, you may find yourself being drawn to other people who have experienced the same thing, that you can connect to, that you can talk to about that, because they know kind of where you're coming from. And you may find that you are forever changed, that you may not be able to connect as deeply with people who have never experienced that amount of loss or grief or what have you. That was just an example, but you may find that some of these things, some of these changes in your life, in your day-to-day life, will change you as a whole entire person. Sometimes you can't go back to where you were before, and it can be scary. It can be scary, especially when you're in that interim, that middle part between where you were and where you're going to be. That can feel very confusing and like you are just lost and you have no idea what's going on. But I do think that that is where the most growth happens. And if you push through that, you will find the other side is very rewarding, and you can learn a lot more and have so much more to learn on the other side. So I guess I just wanted to share this experience and what it meant to me, how it felt, how I knew that I was changing and that I was growing in the way that I was. And hopefully if you have felt this and you were kind of confused, maybe this helped you feel a little bit better. But I just wanted to share this experience, and I would love to know any experiences that you've had with anything similar, whether it be relationships like I was talking about, or just if this resonated with you on a certain different aspect. I would love to know anything that's been going on in your life, maybe somewhere you've witnessed this transformation of yourself. Relationships especially are mirrors to ourselves, and they will definitely show us what we still need to work on, maybe what's a trigger for us, or what's a glimmer, what the opposite of a trigger, what invokes joy and creativity in us and will keep us growing and keep us inspired. And I do think it is so, so crucial to continue growing and evolving, to surround yourself with others, with like-minded others that want to help you grow and that inspire you to grow and to push yourself outside of your comfort zone and change and look at things from a different perspective. A new viewpoint is always good, just to even think about it. So thank you so much for joining me in this community and being an active member here on Yoga with Paige. Even if this is your first video that you've tuned into, or if you've been practicing with me for the past 2 years, I appreciate all of your support and you being here and wanting to grow yourself and get to know yourself on a deeper level, because I feel like that's what life is all about. Us being able to grow and change individually, personally, but also share these experiences with others and help others grow themselves even more and faster with different viewpoints and different experiences that may help open our eyes as a whole, because we are all in this together. So yeah, and just a little tidbit more on how I felt ostracized for a little bit in that interim. I want to kind of clarify this and drive this point home. I did feel ostracized. I did feel left out. I felt kind of weird. I felt like I didn't fit in all over again. I was like, wow, am I in high school all over again? I felt different because I was in that in between, but it was worth it because I want to have authentic connections. And if it wasn't resonating with me, what they were talking about or what they were doing, then why would I want to be involved? So that was just a little aside that I'm going to throw in there at the end. But again, thank you very much. If you relate to this at all, give it a thumbs up, share your experiences down below, and I will see you next time.